Okay everyone, so in this next video, let's try to further explore on how we can try to go and work with Phaser. And I've been doing some reading, and some of the things that I've found out is that we can try to load some images here in this function preload that we have set in an object that is a key value pair, and this is the object that is stored in this key that we are storing in our config variable that we're passing in as an argument to the game method that we're able to access from the new instance of the Phaser framework. And these are just some ways, just some note in JavaScript. We need to be aware of what are a statement, what is an expression, what are keywords, what are operands. So most of the time operands are custom names that we can give to a variable, or it's an identifier, and we have some operators also. So these are function declarations that has some identifiers, or it's a function definition. Sometimes you might hear some function definitions. And now if we wanted to go and try to load some images, additional images here, I've already made some, or I took some resources of mine that I have created in the game that I'm developing in Unity. And let's try to have that rendered on the browser. So the way we can do that is we can use the same syntax here, this dot load dot image, and let's say gradient first. Then we have to, this is the name of the file, this one, and then we can try to have assets, which is the name of the folder, and we also have the gradient.png actual file resource. So this is the path. And now this should still not work because we still have to go and have it set up in our create function. And one thing that you will notice here, if I type here this dot add dot image, similar syntax here, and this is just basically the this keyword is you're setting up a lexical environment, or you're binding it to this function. So I would suggest that you try to read about lexical environment. There are 5 ways we usually can try to create a binding in and combine the use of the this keyword. So I would suggest that you do some further reading about that, just so that you will be more comfortable with the use of the this keyword. And we do have here this image, this add image. So this is a property that we're getting from this object. So I think we can we know that this is binded to the create function. So most probably if we try to console.log this, are we going to get something? I was just thinking, can we run this on node console.log? Is this possible? So let's say if I want to have a console.log and I go and try to invoke create here, what are we going to get if I just want to explore a little bit? And I'm going to run node. I think that won't happen. And we did invoke it here. Let's go to, I won't use node, but instead I'm going to check the console, and we do have a create. This dot physics is undefined, but we do have an object getting passed in, as you can see here, right? We're seeing some objects, and if we try to do some type of, I'm just invoking it here just for testing. And what if I type off? What are we going to see on the I think we're going to encounter some errors here. So it's running an issue there, right? But if we, again, I think we do see that, so we cannot get the use of the type of here. And if we try to refresh the browser just to explore, so we do have here console. But what if I stop? You can try to stop the debugger here, just so that we can try to get to that console. I actually set that up before, so let me just go and get this part here. I'm just going to remove that for the meantime, so that we can get some more information here. And we do see that physics is undefined. We do get an object that has a lot of properties and events on the browser as we try to console it. If we try to comment that out, what are we going to get? And I think we don't have any image here, that's why we might also be having some issues. But if I try to go and put here 300, and let's have that gradient reference, let's just check. Okay, so you'll see that object is not showing up on our browser anymore. When we try to test that, what that console.log will be doing if we try to invoke or call this method or that function. And what if I try to go and have that again? We do see an object that is being displayed, so that means that it's an object that create, or that this keyword is an object. In the JavaScript language, objects are like a representation of, let's say for example, a player. This will have certain properties, and like this one, key and a value property, and it can contain different types of data types and methods, right? So just have that in mind. So let's have to go and remove this, and let's go. I just wanted to explore and talk about that as you try to go work with JavaScript. That's really essential for you to at least have a knowledge base on the fundamentals of the language. And we do see here that we do have the image. And now if I try to go back here and try to, let's change the order. In this case, I want this to be here at the bottom. What's going to happen? We do see that the character now is on or in front of our background, right? And what if we try to add another image? Just going to call this fog, and let's have that same here. Let's just replace this with fog. What are we going to get? And this should be fog.png. And if we try to refresh, we do get that fog, and the player is currently in front of the background image. So the order is really essential. How you try to order your images will be affecting how the images will be displayed on the browser. So you'll see it's a bit darker. If we put the fog here and place that there, what are we going to see? We should see that the player is behind the fog. So the order is very important to understand if you're going to be working with this. And I'm hoping that this is also clear that these are the X and Y axis coordinates. And we can also try to use a technique for resetting the drawing position of the image onto the top left. So let's have to go work with adding the set origin method to 0, 0. Let's try to test what that will do in our image if we try to implement that. So we can see that it went to the center. Let me just do some, let me just comment this out. What are we going to see? So we can see that we got that center position on the top horizontal axis and the bottom vertical axis that we have here, right? So I think that's something that will also be quite cool to explore on. And again, if we try to play around with that set origin, can we say 10? So that means that's the x-axis. So if we're expecting it to have a 10 value, so it's no longer on the screen. What if we say, I think that's not going to work there. If we say 300, what are we going to get? Just to explore. And let's say the y-axis will be 500, just for exploring what's currently happening. So it went down. So just have that in mind. If you wanted to set origin, it will be resetting the drawing position of the image. And let's just bring that back. And I think that's it for this video. Now we can try to display some of the images, the background images, and we're also able to figure out the importance of order depending on how you would want the images to be rendered by the browser. So whichever is at the bottom will be most probably will be whichever is at the bottom will be the one that will be rendered in front. So thank you everyone.